Hey, it's Brooke and Jeffrey in the morning.
You can scroll it later, or better, you can listen live to Brooke and Jeffrey every weekday morning. Big fun, real moments, the laughs that make your day. Your station, your city, right now. That's called radio. In Seattle, that's called Moving 92.5.
And love has many faces. See it in the eyes that look right into your soul. Love has many faces. Proud and humble, beautiful and plain, and young and old.
Well, hello and welcome to Love Has Many Faces. I'm your host, Marilyn Milano, and we're here in Alternative Talk 1150. So today we have a new guest, a first-time guest joining us, Stephan. She has written a book called The Path of Unconditional Love, and it sounds fascinating and wonderful. So we're going to talk with her about that, about what the animals have taught her, about ways to connect with your own animals and more. And then, of course, there'll be information about her podcast and also just finding the book itself if you are intrigued by what you hear today. So with that being said, I mentioned that Stephanie has a podcast. Well, of course, this show is now being podcast as well. And if you type Love Has Many Faces podcast in the search bar, it will take you to my podcasts. And you can also find them, again, wherever you listen, whether it's Apple or Spotify or wherever that is. So again, that's Love Has Many Faces podcast to find this along with many other shows. And with that note, we're going to take a very short pause and be right back after a break with our guest, Stephan. I'm Marilyn Milano, your host of Love Has Many Faces here on Alternative Talk 1150.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to Linda Rasmussen at verticalenergyworldwide.com, we cover the world of animals. This week, March 22nd, it's an extra Sunday edition of Animal World, and we'll spend the majority of it with Merritt and Beth Clifton from animals24-7.org to find out about what's going on with animals all over the world. Hope you can join us. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Don't let that herd mentality lead you off a cliff. We support thinking for yourself on Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Love Has Many Faces. And Stephanie, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Marilyn. It's a pleasure to be here with you and talk about animals. This is definitely something we have in common.
Oh, absolutely. I have been an animal lover since I was able to walk and talk. I slept with a bed of stuffed dogs before I got my own dog as a child. And so I'm all over that. And I'm fascinated by what you've written about and would love to hear more. So I don't know, since this is our first conversation, I thought it might be nice if you just introduced yourself to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your project and how you came to write this book.
Yes, thank you. Well, just like you, I have been an animal lover since I was a child. I always felt they are special. And when I saw their soul in their eyes, it spoke to me every time. And I could just not understand why people would not see them as sentient beings, just like us. They understand us. They connect deeper than many humans can. And I just could not understand why it was not evident for everybody. And I initially entertained the idea of becoming a vet because in my mind as a child, that was the only profession I thought was available to help animals. When I realized I was helping a vet when I was in high school, and then I realized, whoa, that's a very heavy kind of work day when you have to work with clients and have to euthanize animals regularly. I felt this is not going to work for me. I'm going to be devastated. And then I pursued a different career. And then years later, I circled back and I just stumbled upon Reiki. And I wasn't planning necessarily to work on animals particularly, but my dog was just so happy to receive Reiki on a regular basis when I was practicing. And I realized, wow, this is coming full circle. It's really becoming my life dream as a child of helping animals. And as a result of that, I started working with sanctuaries and I gathered so much experience doing this practice that last year I received a calling and I answered the calling and I said, okay, I'm going to share this message, the message of love, because these animals would love to have a voice and they have lots of wisdom to share. And I would love to be here to share that. So this is how it came about, and it's a lifelong dream, actually.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand what you're saying about, I think many people, when they're younger, think, well, I'll be a veterinarian and help animals. But as you said, along with saving animals, there is the harder side of things, working with the sick pets, telling people that they have to say goodbye to their beloved animal. I don't think I could do it either. I'm a big sap. I'm a crier. I'm very emotional about my animals, and I love them with every ounce of my being. And I think you're also right that for many years, especially like when I was a kid and growing up several decades ago, people thought that you were being anthropomorphic if you assigned traits to animals, like that they love you and they understand you and all that kind of thing. Oh, you're just giving them human qualities. But the more scientific research comes out, the more we read, the more we see that says our animals do understand more than we know. I mean, crows, for example, yeah, I'm sure you've read this. They can understand like up to what a 7-year-old can. Dogs can learn many words, cats. I mean, even the smaller animals we wouldn't think would necessarily have that connection. So, what is your hope? Like for people who read the book, if there are one or two things that you hope that you can impart through your book, just to start with. I mean, I'm sure there's far more than that, but what would you say are the one or two things that you want people to take away from that?
Yes. Well, as you have noticed, we live in a crazy world. People are depressed. There is anxiety everywhere. And there seems to be such a doom and gloom all around us because things have changed dramatically and in many perspectives, not necessarily for the better, right? And so
Yes.
the message of this book is a manual to happiness based on the wisdom that animals have shared with me while I was working with them, because there is a reciprocal relationship with the animals. We give them love, and in return, they also give us love and wisdom, and they teach us how to be the better version of ourselves. And if we can capture that from the book, that essence of wisdom, we can learn to be present, we can learn to feel grateful, we can learn to have empathy, we can learn to open our hearts so that we don't go through life shut down and not having feelings because we are afraid of feeling anything.
Yes.
Animals love us so much and so deeply. They are able to open our hearts no matter what is going on around us.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I spend probably way too much time looking into my animals' eyes and telling them how much I love them, and it is so peaceful and the feeling is so wonderful. And I have read that when you look into your dog or cat or other pet's eyes and bond with them, that your oxytocin levels go up, and that is the good hormone as opposed to the stress hormone cortisol, which we hear about, and that those feelings of well-being and happiness and calm can come to us. Now, do you recall when you first realized, maybe it was when you were doing Reiki with one of the animals, but when you realized that they were trying to tell you something, do you have a recollection of when that became obvious to you?
There was not one time, because the messages with the animals are very subtle and they come as an image, and then in the first time you cannot make that distinction between, was that my thought or was that a thought that was just put in my mind because my pet wanted something or this animal wanted something. So it was very subtle, and it was not until over time that it happened over and over again and I was spot on what was needed in the moment. Then I realized, oh, where is all this coming from? And that's when I stopped for a second and I realized, oh, okay, so there is a communication that is happening here. I did not notice there was not one single thing that said right at the beginning, this is it. is this happening? It was so, we were so bonded, at least with the animals in my house and the animals that I had in the sanctuary that I been working with, that yes, I did not, there was not one thing. But once I paid attention to it and I noticed it and I started cultivating that bridge of communication, and it's just, we all do it. I just want to say that there's nothing special about me. I'm just speaking about it, but we all do it. The moment we open our heart, there is a frequency that allows that communication to flow. And when we are in our heads all the time, we don't listen to it because we are in our heads and our thoughts take over. But once we open our hearts, that communication bridge is completely open, and we can receive images, we can receive urges, sensations, feelings, or just a sense of just knowing. And we all do it. Like, for example, I teach this in my classes, and I explain my students, and I say, if you're watching TV and you are just immersed in the show at the moment, you are not thinking about anything other than what you're watching. However, there is one moment where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have this thought, oh my gosh, I have to go feed X. You have to feed my pet. And where do you think that thought came from? Because you were really immersed in the show. You didn't come to that decision by realizing, oh, look at the time. Oh, it has been a while. Oh, look at this, look at that. You didn't come to that decision. You did not think it through. It just showed up out of nowhere, and you realize, you get up and you do it. But that insert moment of messages of communication that came from the animal in your house.
That's really interesting. I mean, now with my pets, my two dogs, who I think are angels, I absolutely am totally enamored of them. But it's funny because sometimes before we even get up, I'll get the urge like, okay, I think it's time for one of these guys to get up. I know one of them has to go potty or whatever it is. And I mean, again, there are just subtle little things. I've learned to look at their body language when we're outside to know if they've finished going potty or not. Sometimes that they have to walk a little bit more. But I am curious. In how you think maybe we can develop this and use this to have better understanding with our pets. I mean, I feel like I'm very bonded with my animals. But I don't know if we're communicating back and forth. I mean, I know that they know that I love them. One of them follows me everywhere in the house. But what would you say to someone like myself who's saying, okay, I'm already giving my animals so much love and my heart is open to them. What could I do, or what should I be looking for?
Yes, that's an excellent question, because we all want to start somewhere and we do not know where, right?
Yeah.
The first step is to cultivate presence, is to be in the moment. We are there, we are in the moment with them, and we are not thinking about what we're going to go do next. We are not thinking what we had just done, what happened yesterday, what is going to happen tomorrow. We're not thinking about anything in the past or in the future. We are right here, right now, fully present, completely and utterly present with our pets. In that moment, we are already basically uncluttering our mind so that we can actually be open to receive. Because, as I mentioned, the communication is constantly happening. There is a bond already with the animals that we have in the house, and they are constantly talking to us, whether we pay attention or not. So the first step in order to listen to what they're saying is to not be thinking about other things, so that our mind is clear and our heart is already open, and then we can receive typically, this is not always the case, but typically is images. They communicate very clearly, not in English words. They are not going to be using human language, obviously. They will be using images or urges or feelings or sensations. That's the kind of communication that they give us. So if we are not thinking about anything else, then we can actually pick up on those cues and we can pick up on those signals, and then we can start cultivating that every single day until we really understand what they need in the moment, exactly when they want it. So it's a great tool, is to practice presence as much as we possibly can. And as a result of that, we also become more peaceful, more balanced, and our heart stays open more for a more extended period of time throughout the day because we are not going back to our head and thinking about something else that is going to upset us. So we stay in our heart and not so much in our mind. And it's very relaxing, very therapeutic. It helps with our nervous system. It totally reduces the cortisol levels in our body. It reduces the blood pressure that we have. Being in our heart, it heals us. That's why animals are such wonderful healers for us. And you were mentioning,
Oh, I was just going to say, yes, I agree totally.
you were mentioning about the oxytocin, that chemical compound that comes out when we are looking at our animals' eyes. It also happens for them the same way. They fall in love with us. They are literally in love. The chemicals in their brain are actually telling them they love us. They are in love. So it is not just us that have that feeling. They also are having that feeling. And it is just wonderful that it's mutual and there is this reciprocity that happens every day. It's so magical. So yes, presence is the very first step.
Well, I mean, I know that, for example, during COVID, many of us were home and didn't have visitors. We were either working from home or stuck at home, and especially those of us who lived by ourselves. Um, I mean, I was so grateful for my animals because they gave me the hugs and the contact that I wouldn't have had when I was at my home for like a good part of a year. No visitors, no going out except to run to the store with the mask on and so forth. So now your book, again, it's called The Path of Unconditional Love, and it can be found at any of the online booksellers. So can someone go to Amazon, for example, and order that?
Yes, yes. You can find me in Amazon. You can find me in bookshop.org. You can find me in the indie bookstores, local bookstores online. So I am definitely in all the major retailers, and it's just published 3 months ago.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. And I think you've touched a nerve because those of us who love our animals, we want to communicate more with them. We want to talk more with them. We want them to know what we're thinking and know what they're thinking. And it's so funny because, like, especially, I mean, both of my dogs are total Velcro dogs and they're totally angels and wonderful. But especially with Fire, when I'm holding Fire or like I'm petting her, and I just look at her in her eyes, and I've said these words. I've said, "Are we in love, Fire?" And she'll look at me. And I just said, "We're in love, Fire, aren't we?" And then I'll
Absolutely.
look at Kala and I'll tell her, "You're an angel." And I mean, and she knows that what I'm saying is good. And so it's just an incredibly peaceful and joyful experience to have this love come back. Now, you are also relatively new with a podcast called Purrs, Barks, and Tweets with Love, right?
That is correct. Yes. It was just, I'm in a very creative time of my life, and I felt that perhaps for those who do not have the time to sit down and read the book, that perhaps they would like to listen to some of the stories that I share in the book and other stories related to how magical animals are. And I'm talking animals that, for example, birds that are in the wild or a bison that is in a sanctuary, or as you mentioned just now, you and I are on the same frequency wave, because I literally mentioned that one fact that you said about crows, that they have the intelligence of a human being that is 7 years old. I literally recorded that last night. I said that in my podcast. I
Ah,
Yes, so you actually did read my mind.
yeah, because I didn't
And
hear that. I didn't hear the podcast. So yes, no, that's funny. That's
yes,
interesting. That's great.
absolutely.
So, and I remember that reading that crows will remember you if you've disturbed their nest or if they don't like you. So you do not want to tick off a crow. But I'm wondering if there's a favorite story that you might want to share with our listeners about an experience either with you and an animal or maybe someone that worked with you, and their pet. I'd love to just hear maybe an example of someone who discovered how to do this and what happened.
Well, this one is a very magical story. So I'm going to tell you about this horse called Molly. What happened was I was on a trip. I was not even in the US at the moment, and a couple of friends of mine who also are doing some energy healing as well, they reached out and they said, Stephanie, can you help us? There is a horse in Alberta, Canada that got kidnapped, and it's a Clydesdale. It was taken from a sanctuary where there were other 80 horses, and this wonderful couple, they rescue horses because there is illegal horse meat market over there, and they go to auctions and they rescue as many horses as they possibly can, and they bring them to the sanctuary. So they're beautiful people, and they're doing beautiful work with the animals. And I have not been to the sanctuary. I do not know them. I did not know this horse. And I am across the pond. And how am I going to locate this particular animal so that we can bring this animal back to safety? I did not know how to go about doing that. And as I mentioned, I started with Reiki. I have 4 different trainings of Reiki, and we needed to do something. So I was connecting with the animal and remotely. I do a lot of remote work all the time. So that's no different if I am in one country or another, it doesn't matter. But what did matter to me was that I didn't know the animal, and I wanted to at least have a picture or something that I could see the animal. Anyway, I just did not. I had nothing. And I connected with her, and I could see the scene play out in my mind as if it was a movie where she was taken by 2 men, taken into a trailer, and she is going behind them. So I didn't see their faces, I only saw their backs, and one looked younger than the other based on the way that they were walking. And they got into a pickup truck, and she was taken to the countryside where there's this house with a porch all around. It was a very pretty house. And then the horse was taken into a stable that was a very, very small stable for that Clydesdale size kind of horse. And she was uneasy, uncomfortable, in an unfamiliar place. Horses are very sensitive animals, and she was taken away from her safety place with all her friends, and all of a sudden she's alone in a dark place. So she was very uncomfortable. And what I was doing with my friends, we were all connecting with her and trying to encourage her to please break free, to kick the barn door, to break it open so that the rescue people that were in the area could find her and bring her back. But we were not able to find her. She was not able to break free from the stable. The weeks kept going, and we could not get an exact coordinate where we can say this is where she is. We knew where the surrounding area was. We did not know the exact coordinate to say this is the house number, police, please go get her, right? That we couldn't get to that level of detail. And we continue to send love to her. We continue to encourage her, to give her strength, to continue fighting, to not give up on life, to not fall sick and die while we were trying to get to her. So we send her a lot of love. And what was interesting is this happened in October. And I remember very clearly because I know exactly when I was during this trip. This happened in October. And we came very close to actually get her, find the location, because these kidnappers moved her about 3 times to not get caught. So we were really close to finding her. And it made it to the news. They were talking about what had happened. The horse got been kidnapped. There were rescue missions here and there. So the kidnappers were getting really restless about what was going on. And I connected with the feeling that they were having. And these were not full-on criminals that they do this on a regular basis. These were regular people that all of a sudden thought, oh, this is an easy solution to my money problems, and why not? Let's do it. And they realized, oh no, this is not a good idea. But that was too late. They had already done it. And so they did not know what to do, but this was not something they did all the time. And so they were very concerned how to get out of it. Well, we continue sending love and sending love and sending love. And believe it or not, it was Christmas Eve when the people from the sanctuary went to spend Christmas with their daughter in the city. They were obviously 80 horses sanctuary. They're not in the city, they're in the countryside. So they left the sanctuary to go spend time with their daughter. And when they returned, the Clydesdale was back. They had returned the horse while they were gone for Christmas. And the horse, yes, they risked getting caught. They risked getting arrested. They risked getting seen by somebody. But they brought, 3 months later, they brought the horse back to the sanctuary unharmed. And the magical thing of this entire story is that on top of that, she was pregnant. So horses' pregnancy is 11 months. So she had been pregnant before she was kidnapped. And baby and mom are doing fantastic. The baby was born in the spring. So that was Christmas time. The baby was born in May. And I literally was so touched with this that I took a plane and I went to visit the horses when the baby was born. So her name is Moxie and the mom's name is Molly, and they're doing wonderful and they live in Canada.
I think that's an amazing story. And we are out of time already, but I'm glad we could hear that. I mean, that's just one example. Now, what we'll have to do is have you come back once your podcast has been going for a little while and have you bring us up to date on some other things that are going on. This is an amazing example of just sending that love and that communication. So I have to wrap us up because we need to close out the show for today. But Stephanie, I want to thank you again for joining us. Again, The Path of Unconditional Love is the name of the book. This is a little bit of a long website to remember, but it's unconditional-love-frequency-with-Stephanie-Stephan. So that's a lot, but if you go to the podcast, there'll be information there too. And again, that's Purrs, Barks, and Tweets with Love. So Stephanie, thank you again. It's been a joy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. This has been an honor for me. I appreciate it.
All right, we're going to take a very short pause and come right back to wrap things up. I'm Marilyn Milano, your host with Love Has Many Faces.
Saving Great Animals, a Seattle-based dog rescue organization, matches families with dogs that are the best fit. Dogs that come from overcrowded animal control shelters, from abandonment or neglect. The key to Saving Great Animals' success is a trial adoption program, including training and counsel as needed. This way, you know you have the right dog before the adoption is final. Saving Great Animals relies solely on donations, so please visit savinggreatanimals.org today.
Alternative Talk, 1150 on AM, 98.9 HD3 on HD, 1150kknw.com on the web. Alternative Talk, 1150 on AM, 98.9 HD3 on HD, 1150kknw.com on the web.
Welcome back to Love Has Many Faces. What a wonderful conversation with Stephan, and a great story about the horse that was rescued. Just amazing. And there's more. If you check out her book, The Path of Unconditional Love, her podcast, Purrs, Barks, and Tweets with Love. So again, just a real pleasure to have Stephanie with us today. We're here every Tuesday morning from 9 to 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we're podcast as well, Love Has Many Faces podcast. So please join us, share with your friends, and we will see you next time. I'm Marilyn Milano, your host of Love Has Many Faces, here on Alternative Talk 1150.